Well, it's Tuesday, and that means I get to talk with my friend A.B. Stoddard. Hi, A.B. Great
Hi,
to
Mona.
see you. Well, as we're speaking, it looks like there has been a verdict reached in the Hunter Biden case.
Oh.
So we'll stay tuned to that. But before knowing the outcome, it is interesting, isn't it, A.B., that so it was so much a part of the MAGA narrative post New York verdict that everything was rigged, that it was Joe Biden directing the prosecutors in New York to go after Trump and so forth, that it was the system going against a Republican that was the big takeaway here, not that it was the wheels of justice grinding on. And so even though the Hunter Biden case was in many ways very embarrassing for the Biden family and not the look that they would have wanted, the MAGA people were pretty quiet about it. Didn't you think? Because they really didn't want to draw attention to the fact that, oh, really? The Justice Department actually prosecuted the president's son.
The timing is maybe a real blessing in disguise. Hunter Biden was going to be put on trial anyway, having it come right after the New York case and having the GOP shut down and stop talking about Hunter and having gun right advocates rally to his side. I think we're going to...
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but honest,ly, it's the first time I've ever heard...
Because the hypocrisy is laughable.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
But having this whole process with Biden be interviewed and saying, I will accept the outcome of a jury of his peers.
And that he would not pardon him.
And then I think we're going to get a guilty verdict, but it doesn't really matter, right? It's a reminder. People saw, as you pointed out, the Justice Department under a Biden administration prosecute the president's son. And that happens in America. And where else would it happen? And it is a reminder to these voters we're counting on, right, Mona, that this is a system that works and that no one gets away with things because they're powerfully connected, when it comes to committing crimes. So that's, I do think it was not just ironic, but perhaps, I'm not saying like, oh, let's go after Hunter Biden. He was going to be on trial. But this timing of it starting June 3rd is sort of wonderfully helpful, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's a reminder to those voters that we want to believe in the system.
So one of the things that I think we really cannot emphasize too often, the Republican mouthpieces now who are saying, well, okay, since you went after Trump, it's going to be gloves off, and we've got to bring charges against all of these Democrats now as payback. And you've got prominent and formerly respectable people saying this, that the judicial system should be used for retribution, right? Instead of saying, well, this is wrong and it should never be done again, right? That could be one way to approach it.
Exactly.
This is wrong. It should never be done again. And instead it's, okay, let's just, do. And of course it's so preposterous because and I remember you warning about this like way back when, before the Republicans even took control of the House, you were saying, this was back in 2022. You were saying it's going to be nonstop investigations of Hunter Biden, impeachment inquiries about Joe Biden. And of course, that's exactly what we saw. Oh, hang on. Yeah. So he was convicted on all three felony charges in the gun trial. Okay. As expected.
I think that it's really important to note that like the symmetry of this, he just got convicted of all of his counts in Delaware, where his brother was attorney general, the state that the whole family comes from. There's not a Delaware. Are you a Delawarean? There's not a citizen in that state who doesn't know the name Biden.
Right.
This is the president's son. I mean, I'm sorry, but, I want to hear from you, Mike Johnson. I want to hear from you, Marco. Like, bring it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Go tell those voters at rallies that like it's all cooked up. It's again, I just like you, and you're the one with the law degree. I suspected a conviction was coming, but the fact that it happened literally like 10 days later, what are they going to say?
I know. It's a wonderful illustration of the fact that the judicial system at its best is neutral and ought to be neutral. And it should apply to the high and the mighty as well as the lowly. Now, just between us, since this is just you and me talking here, the fact is, when it comes to small crimes, if you are a prominent person and you get caught committing a small crime, you are actually at a disadvantage because you're prominent. And therefore, they have to make an example of you. Otherwise, it will look like the rich or the famous can get away with things that the ordinary person can't. So a lot of people have criticized this prosecution of Hunter because they've said, oh, come on, nobody ever gets charged for illegal gun purchases because of a form that they signed saying they weren't doing drugs, unless there was some other big crime involved, like they committed a crime with the gun or something. But this charge would not have been brought, arguably, if he weren't Hunter Biden. But you know what? That's the price you pay for being prominent. The fact is, he also got a lot of good things out of being the vice president's son. Go ahead. You want it. You want in. Go for
I'm
it.
like frothing at the mouth here because that's what everyone said about Trump. And the Alvin Bragg couldn't have brought these charges he would never have against anyone else if his name wasn't Trump, because this was a superficial bookkeeping error. Mm-hmm. That's fine. If, as you note, Mona, if you are a prominent person with privilege and power, you better behave.
That's
right.
And
if you get busted, I have no sympathy.
That's right.
I have sympathy for his addiction. He should not have bought a gun when he was recently using or rehabbed. Maybe he wasn't on the day that he purchased the gun, but it's dangerous. You're not allowed to just break the law because you're Joe, the vice president's son. And
That's right.
And also any business dealings that are not on the up and up they deserve triple the amount of scrutiny than your or my business dealings, and they better be clean. That's
exactly
my feeling about Don Jr. and Hunter Biden.
Completely agree. And he will pay a price. He should have, of course, spared his father all this by just taking a plea deal. But never mind all that. Water over the dam at this point.